Secretly recorded from deep inside the bowels of a decommissioned missile silo, we bring you the man, one single man who wants to bring light to the darkness and dark to the lightness. Although he's not always right, he is always certain. So now, with security protocols in place, the protesters have been forced back behind the barricades and the blast doors are now sealed. Without further delay, let me introduce you to the host of Hutcast, Mr. Tim Hutner.
Thank you, Sergeant-at-Arms. You can now take your post. The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the individual and participants. These views and opinions expressed do not represent those of the host or the show. The opinions in this broadcast are not to replace your legal, medical, or spiritual professionals. Happy Sunday! That's right, Hutcast is out, finally out from underneath the rotten, miserable rain we've been having, although we do need it. But on today's show, I'm going to kind of pick on the big guy's kid. He's been in the news a lot lately. And I think there's some people missing some things here. They ain't paying attention to the details, the fine details in which, that's right, Hunter Biden is being excused of. So stand by. Let's have a conversation about this train wreck. Hutcast will be right back. Buying a gun is no ordinary purchase. Whether you're a hunter, competitive shooter, or self-defense is your priority, there are many kinds of guns and many kinds of training programs. You use your brain all the time. You will rarely need to use your gun. Before you find yourself in a situation where you need to make a critical decision, make sure your training is the best you can get. It could be the difference between life and death, or freedom or detention. For the best quality training, check out permittocarry.us. If you live in Minnesota or Wisconsin or even Florida, give Gene German a call, 612-388-2403. That's Permit to Carry US. Or call Gene German at 612-388-2403. Welcome back to Hutcast 10/15/2023. As stated in pre-roll. Yeah, we're going to go after some guys today. Well, actually, a guy or a guy of party, or you just listening. I got two clips from you. One from the respective Dan Bongino show, which is all his trademarks and everything, and the other one was CBS News. So I'm going to play these for you, and then we're going to start into this conversation.
Hunter Biden, the 53-year-old son of President Joe Biden, has been charged by the Justice Department with federal tax and weapons violations. And we understand via a court filing today that he has struck a deal with prosecutors. He will plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax charges, but could avoid prosecution on a separate gun-related charge by entering a pretrial diversion program for possessing a gun while addicted to an illegal drug. This is according to that letter filed in federal court in Delaware by the district attorney's office. That diversion program would allow him as the defendant to have the charges dismissed if he complies with certain conditions for a set period of time. The president is currently out in California campaigning and fundraising for that effort. Now, the White House, via a spokesperson, did release a statement today in reaction to this news, saying, quote, "The president and first lady love their son and support him as he continues to rebuild his life. We will have no further comment."
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Did you get that? Did you get the fact that Hunter Biden is in violation of a weapons charge and a tax misdemeanor? Oh, hold on here. Hold on. Well, how did he get to a misdemeanor? Because he isn't going to do it again? Okay, hold on. So focus on what we know, what the world's been seeing. I don't know if you've been following along this thing. I mean, he's kind of the lost prodigal son of Sleepy Joe. And he is all over the news. You hear him constantly throwing daddy's name around. It's almost like Buford T. Pusser and the kid, where Justice Chief Pusser is going to go out and kick you some bitches. That's what they do that's in the movie. Okay, I didn't make it. And he's going to threaten his way. He's going to muscle his way. He's going to intimidate his way into things. I don't know about you guys, but when you start sitting back and thinking about how many times everyone else has been attacked, everyone else has been IRS to death, anybody else has been taxed to death, And this guy gets off with an agreement because he's the president's son and he's going to get his butt kicked. And oh, come on. It should infuriate you. It should infuriate every one of you. You guys shouldn't sit for this. See, I don't care if you're a Demo, Reb, an Independent, a Tea Party. It makes absolutely no difference in the big scheme of things. And here's this guy, 53 years old. If you don't know better by now, you're not going to know better ever. And he's doing this. Holy crap, people. Wake up. Pay attention to what's going on here. And I got a clip from the Bongino show. And it's going to be in full definition. Okay? So the full definition is going to be one of these, what would you say? Dot the T's and cross the I's deal. It's a huge, huge thing. And I want you to listen to it. But before we get into the Bongino thing, you need to just, like I said, pump these brakes and say, when do we start this dual laws for people? When do we have this? He had a weapons charge. He had a tax charge. And all of a sudden he's going to plead it down to a misdemeanor. Why? Well, I know why he doesn't do it, but why do they constantly have these dual efforts? These dual. The more I listen to the news, the more I hate the news. The more you should hate the news. And which news? It doesn't matter which news, if it's the Fox or the CNNs, or because they're so busy sensationalizing it that they can't even focus on what the real truth is. Professionalism and justice of the professionalism is so gone. All they want to do is spin a tale and wind you guys up. Now, mind you, I'm no accolade for the news organizations. I'm just a guy in an underground bunker, having an opinion, paying the taxes, doing the things that everybody does. I don't vote for a living, I work for a living, as do most of you. I know I'm preaching a lot to that choir, but if you're that one guy, that votes for a living, listen to what we're saying, because eventually you're going to have to work for a living because it's just going to be that way. So I've got my AI friend going to define and explain to you the complete 4473. Now, it's kind of a long thing, so tune in and pay attention. I'll slow it down to 0.9 in real time so you can just kind of get the hankering of this, because it's incredible. You need to understand the definitions before you can understand the consequences of this unit, of what this form says. Now, it is not the whole form. It is basically the yes or no answer questions. It is what's going to be coming up in the next segment with Bongino and how he describes how this happens. And the Senator Tiffany is going to come out, and they call him Mr. Tiffany on the in the court case. So you just got to listen to it. So hold on here. Let me get this thing started.
Answer the following questions by checking or marking either the yes or no box to the right of the questions. Yes, no, A. Are you the actual transferee/buyer of all of the firearms listed on this form and any continuation sheets, ATF Form 5300.9A? Warning, you are not the actual transferee/buyer if you are acquiring any of the firearms on behalf of another person. If you are not the actual transferee/buyer, the licensee cannot transfer any of the firearms to you. Exception, if you are only picking up or repaired firearms for another person, you are not required to answer 21.A, and may proceed to question 21.B. Do you intend to sell or otherwise dispose of any firearm listed on this form and any continuation sheets in furtherance of any felony or other offense punishable by imprisonment for a term of more than 1 year, a federal crime of terrorism, or a drug trafficking offense? C. Are you under indictment or information in any court for a felony, or any other crime for which the judge could imprison you for more than 1 year? Or are you a current member of the military who has been charged with violations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice and whose charges have been referred to a general court-martial? D. Have you ever been convicted in any court, including a military court, of a felony, or any other crime for which the judge could have imprisoned you for more than 1 year, even if you received a shorter sentence, including probation? E. Are you a fugitive from justice? Previous editions are obsolete. ATF Form 4473, 5300.9, page 1 of 7 staple if pages become separated. Revised August 2023. Yes, no, F. Are you an unlawful user of, or addicted to, marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance? Warning. The use or possession of marijuana remains unlawful under federal law regardless of whether it has been legalized or decriminalized for medicinal or recreational purposes in the state where you reside. G. Have you ever been adjudicated as a mental defective or have you ever been committed to a mental institution? H. Have you ever been discharged from the armed forces under dishonorable conditions? I. Are you subject to a court order, including a military protection order issued by a military judge or magistrate, restraining you from harassing, stalking, or threatening your child or an intimate partner or child of such partner? J. Have you ever been convicted in any court of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence, or are you or have you ever been a member of the military and been convicted of a crime that included, as an element, the use of force against a person as identified in the instructions? K. Have you ever renounced your United States citizenship? L. Are you an alien illegally or unlawfully in the United States? M.1. Are you an alien who has been admitted to the United States under a non-immigrant visa? M.2. If you answered yes to question 21.m.1, do you fall within any of the exceptions stated in the instructions? N. Do you intend to sell or dispose of any firearms listed on this form or any continuation sheets to any person described in questions 21b-L or to a person described in question 21.m.1 who does not fall within a non-immigrant alien exception? I certify that my answers in Section B are true, correct, and complete. I have read and understand the notices, instructions, and definitions on ATF Form 4473. I understand that answering yes to question 21.a. If I am not the actual transferee/buyer is a crime punishable as a felony under federal law, and may also violate state and/or local law. I understand that a person who answers yes to any of the questions 21.b through 21.l, as well as 21.n, is prohibited from receiving, possessing, or purchasing a firearm. I understand that a person who answers yes to question 21.m.1 is prohibited from receiving or possessing a firearm unless the person answers yes to question 21.m.2 and provides the documentation required in 26.d. I also understand that making any false oral or written statement, or exhibiting any false or misrepresented identification with respect to this transaction, is a crime punishable as a felony under federal law, and may also violate state and/or local law. I further understand that the repetitive purchase of firearms for the purpose of resale to predominantly earn a profit without a federal firearms license is a violation of federal law.
Okay, you get it, right? You heard it? You understand now what a 4473 is. If you haven't bought a gun, and you haven't seen a form, it's not hard to find this 4473 online. I've discussed it in the past. I've said, hey, you know, this is an easy gig to find. You can Google it. It comes right off the ATF DOJ website. It's the official. It's what they go by as a gun transfer. You have these certain rules and regulations. It's said a lot in there. And these, you know, we've said here before, if you're a stoner in Minneapolis, in the wisdom of Minnesota, they says they're going to have this pot field going now. Now that just knocked out everybody else who's going to want a gun because they're habitually using it. Of course, they don't stem far from the narcotics that Mr. Hunter Biden has. He has a weapon. You can't even possess a weapon. I didn't know about the possession part. I mean, I kind of get it, but so if you're a stoner or you're a doper and you buy a gun from somebody, private party, whatever, does this still apply to you? I don't know. I think it makes sense. You know, if you're a stoner, you shouldn't have a gun. You shouldn't be walking around with a gun. You shouldn't be able to look or even feel at a gun. These quote unquote gun grabbers. But those are the people trying to take your guns. The stoners, the people who are okay with that are the ones trying to take them. Put a stop to that in a hurry. Vote that out. Try. Get them where you can. Shut them down. Makes you think a little, doesn't it? And again, the guys who have posted and called me and says, you know, we buy a lot of the gun stuff and we are always on these forums and they do change. Then they had to make arrangements for the I don't identify as a binary. The guys who can't decide where they want to pee from. Those people. They've made arrangements for them in the 4473. What next? Are they going to make arrangements for the Hunter Bidens in these? Are those the guys going to say, well, let's change that dual law service. Let's have dual laws, one for Republicans and one for Democrats. They had no problem frying Trump's kids, and they weren't even weapons charges or tax evasion. But before I get going down that rabbit hole with you guys today, I'm going to play the Dan Bongino part. And then we're going to come back and say, hey, what's your thought on that? Again, kind of a short show today, but I couldn't stop and sit back and say, this is stupidness. And Bongino has, 1.4 million collectively in the United States. The Hutcast has 45 million globally, so it won't mean much to you guys across the pond, but yet it will mean something to us here, and maybe you can kind of learn from it as well, because I don't know what we're learning. We're like out in way left field sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to start this next section. I'm going to put a pause and a break here for pay the bills, and we're going to have him, i.e. him, Dan Bongino, start with his statement. And he's going to have that Senator Tiffany in that cross-examination of the DOJ or the FBI ATFs. Oh, yeah. You want to hear this guy. He sounds like about a pimple and a half worth of, Clearasil. Hutcast, stand by. We're going to take a break. Come back with the Bongino Show. The current healthcare system is not meeting the needs of real people. People are demanding better care, better options, and want results. So Gareth Care has launched and is advocating for those in the U.S. and internationally, as people are realizing the controlled system has not been there for them. If you want your own independent advocate that is not controlled by big corporations, call or text and enroll today to get your advocate for your needs, serving all ages. For any healthcare need you might have, you matter. Here's how you get started. www.garethcare.com, GRAITHCARE.com. Call Gareth Care Direct, 1-469-864-7149. Call or text a question to Healthcare Sucks and get an advocate with Gareth Care, 1-469-864-7149. Mention Hutcast and you'll get a 10% discount on your advocacy bundle. And the staff at Gareth Care will take care of you. Remember to mention Hutcast, get that extra 10% off your first bundle of time. And this is all brought to you from Gareth Care. All right, welcome back to Hutcast. So let me set this up for you. Tiffany, Mr. Tiffany, they call him on the Congressional Board of Hearing Council, said he wanted to interview these DOJ, this pimple, I don't know what the hell he is. And he wanted him to say what he was going to do in violation of this law. I mean, now, here's where he's going with it. There's inferred and there's actual implied. He infers that if someone was to lie or cheat or steal on this 4473, which you just heard in previous, you just heard this now, that, it's not 10 years or 5 years, it's 15 years now. It's 15. So, again, respective to the Dan Bongino Show, this is a clip from his show, which he took a clip from Congressional CNN or wherever he took it from. But, everybody's copying everybody's stuff, but it makes a point. Bongino cannot Facebook on anything because they got him so tied down. So far, I'm pretty good with that. I don't have that issue. I've had a couple of slap on the wrists, shall we say? But for the most part, they let me go and they let me do my thing. So here it is. Stand by. Listen what's going on.
No, I believe Congress changed the sentence last Congress.
What is that sentence now?
Up to 15.
Up to 15 years. Why hasn't Hunter Biden been prosecuted for the crime that he committed?
This is Republican Congressman Tom Tiffany, good man. He asks the gun grabber there, hey, listen, what happens if you lie in your background check form? And, you're asked if you're a drug user and you lie or you lie about other things. What happens exactly? And you need to stay tuned for the response because it's pretty terrific. Check this out.
If a person lies on Form 4473 and is a user of unlawful drugs, you can get between 5 to 10 years for that. Is that correct? Is that my understanding?
No, I believe Congress changed the sentence last Congress.
What is that sentence now?
Up to 15.
Up to 15 years. Why hasn't Hunter Biden been prosecuted for the crime that he committed?
I'm not aware of the facts of that case and can't comment on it.
Okay, who do we talk to see why this case is not being prosecuted? I mean, he said very clearly in his book that he used drugs. He had a gun, at least a gun.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
See, point of order.
Totally irrelevant and not germane to this proceeding.
Sir, he's got his 5 minutes. Go ahead, continue.
Okay, so I understand why you do not want Mr. Wilcox to answer that question. It's very clear why you don't want, because there's a dual system of justice in America. That's what's going on right now, and everybody's talking about it across America. There's two standards of justice that are going on.
See, they don't really care about people lying on their background check forms and violating federal law. They don't really care as long as they have the last name Biden. You see the Democrats, by the way, hilariously try to shut that down, which was probably the dumbest thing because that's the only reason I saw the clip. Someone sent it to me saying, watch the Democrats try to shut this down. So by doing that, we have about combined, 1.5 million viewers and listeners on the show. So 1.5 million people may not have seen that, just saw it because of you idiots in the House on the Democrat side trying to shut it down. So good job, morons. Everybody knows exactly what you're doing. Folks, the plan is real. Get a list, declare a public health emergency after some god-awful shooting that you had nothing to do with. Use that public health emergency then to declare new features of a firearm retroactively illegal and get a knock on your door. Folks, Democrats are absolutely full of... I actually wrote that. That's right. I couldn't think of a better way to describe this next segment.
So what'd you think? You heard it from directly Dan Bongino. You heard it from the congressional subcommittee hearing Mr. Tiffany, Senator Tiffany, and he's cross-examining the DOJ's, the FBI's, the ATF guy, and why this didn't happen. And it's the easy way out. He should have just said, like when you get pulled over for, what was that, White House gal. I'm no entomologist. I can't tell you which bugs are going to come in. There's all kinds of stuff. You get pulled over by a cop. Hey, do you know how fast you're going? No, because I'm no physicist. It's the same crap. They're continually saying the same crap. I can't comment on it. Well, I get his comment. I get why he says that. I mean, he's probably a Democrat in the world of whatever. And again, I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican or taxpayer or Tea Party or whatever. You can't have a dual justice system. He out and outright lied on the 4473. And I played it to you in previous section, and you got to hear verbatim what AI Bob said. I do the AI thing so you can have some liquidity and smoothness of this instead of me just kind of poking it around. It had to be verbatim. So what do you think of all this? How crazy is this? Why are there constant dual everything? Could you imagine if that would have been one of Trump's kids? I mean, they're just guilty of being greedy. They're not guilty of a felony. Greed's not a felony. They're brought up in a greed situation. Their dad was a narcissistic greed person. I don't know. Think about it. Think about how much this should make you mad. Think about this at voting time. I had one of my hate book groups I support. I actually administrate it. And I put out the Joe Biden's fight with the union workers because it's kind of a thing right now with all the Chevrolet, Stellantis, Ford, the union fighting the companies of, hey, you're going to pay us double time and a half, and we're going to work half as much. And well, if you work, let me put this in. Let me quantify this for you. If you're getting paid $1 and you want $1.50 for 40 hours worth of work, the unions want, and this is kind of crazy, they want $1.50 for 30 hours of work. So think about the math there. You're not getting $1.50. You're getting about $2 worth of hourly pay because you're not working that extra 20 or 10 hours. So it's not a raise of a reasonable proportion. It's a raise so far out of whack that it don't even make any sense. And I'm no union guy. I used to be a union guy, and it did nothing for me besides get me fired because they boast the protection of the union until you actually get something wrong, and now you're out of the union and you're out of the vehicle or the dealership in which you were at, which is a car thing for me. No, did they ever protect me? Yes, did they always take their dues and pays? No, did I benefit from it? So if you're a union worker, not to spin this off sideways, from the Hunter Biden thing, you're getting that much more. Now back to this congressional hearing thing. Nothing's as it seems. You can't trust him, but you got to trust somebody. Trust your gut. Is Hunter guilty? I don't know. I wasn't there. Everyone says he's guilty. So if you're guilty, then why is Mr. Tiffany wrong? And why did they try to hush him up? Is he guilty of tax evasion? Well, not until he's going to do a plea down to just a misdemeanor. Okay, what about all the other people that's been under the examination, the microscope of the IRS in the past? Can they plea down because their last name ain't Biden? There's where the dual justice comes in. That's what Bongino's saying. And I, he's got his thing. He's got his Rumble thing. Many times you see our listing Hutcast next to Bongino's cast out in the world. And by no means am I anything the size of him, but I do have the same traits. The commonality, the common sense, I'm not a bodyguard for the president in the past, and he's not an FFL like we are. So we have our own talents. He does his thing, we do our thing. One of these days, I'd like to get on both of our shows and have a conversation, but, hey, probably never going to happen, pipe dream. So Hunter Biden's done his thing. You can only talk about him so much in this episode, but it's got to come out. You guys got to be just upset. The Biden, I work for the union guy, where this started on that last conversation. I don't work for you. And on this hate book page, this gal chimes in and says, hey, and she's a diehard Democrat, which is good for her. I want to know when this happened. When did this take place? Like I wasn't going to be able to produce the information in which she's asking. It was all of 3 seconds before I copy and pasted what she was asking about her beloved president saying that information. I don't work for you. Well, first of all, you're a union worker, and Biden comes out on his campaign trial, and he wants to throw this at this guy, and this guy was pissed because he was going to take his guns and, whatever the argument was. But he had the audacity to say, I don't work for you. That's when it's in his mind. Never have I once heard narcissistic Trump say, I don't work for you. I've heard him say a lot of other things. Not a Trump fan. He's not the right man for the job. He's the right man for the job, if you get what I'm saying. I don't know. Kind of all over the board today. There's so much emotions running that you can't sit back, and there's not one single public direction you could actually go. There's a multitude of quantifying each part of this little thing, and it all roots back to dual thing of justice. You have the dual justice forms. And I did say on the show earlier, I said, mark my words, this was from Hutcast, that when Minnesota decided to put their doper laws in place, that the feds aren't going to stand for it. And there it was. You heard it verbatim. AI Bob says, even if you are a doper and it's okayed in your state, and you answer that yes or no, it is a felony. Do you think if your name is Johnson or Bubba or whatever it is that they ain't going to prosecute you on that 4473 question 5? Bet they will. Unless your last name is Biden. I think that kind of sums that up, doesn't it? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world today. This week has been kind of a weird week. We got the Palestinians kicking somebody's... Oh, dude, is that a Middle East thing again? What is this? Is this trying to keep us sidebarred so that we don't think about the Hunter crap again? Is this to watch my left hand while the right hand comes in and slaps you in the back of the head? They're starting to position carriers off the coast so that, hey, it's a show of force. We're gonna, the U.S. is involved. They're part of NATO, so they're all there. I don't know. Would a president do that? Would a president create a war so that he could keep his kid out of jail? That sound kind of weird? Could be. More presidents have done more for less. I don't know. What do you say? Chime in on the hate book page, Hutcast, in the Facebook arena. We have it on Twitter. We have it on. We're on all the social medias. We're getting a lot of intel. We're getting a lot of calls, a lot of conversations about it. Chime in. Just say what you say. Hey, this is a free speech page. This is a free speech world, at least until you upset somebody with a D nature. All right. Well, 15 minutes into this segment. Be well, people. Pay attention to what's going on. Read between the lines, because there's always something between the lines. And you just got to cut back and say, enough. Common sense ain't common enough, and we're constantly being bombarded with sound bites and talking points and crap that is just like, really? A lot of guys in Texas having their health and wellness thing they went down last week. We're Hutcast is a sponsor of that. Dr. Artis, his show, constantly rock and rolling down there. We've got Dr. Ely. He was on the show a couple episodes ago. Great guy. Loved hearing his conversation. And the Health and Wellness Clinic or Symposium was a Texas thing. I heard it was quite a great gig. So if you get a chance, Google that up. And Gareth Care was part of one of their main sponsors, and they're part of one of our sponsors. So they're everybody's plugged into this deal. And Hutcast is just proud to be a part of it. You guys have a rest of the wonderful day that you're going to have, and enjoy the weather if it's decent by you. Again, we just got off of a 5-day rain. Looking pretty sunny out there today. Be well, live well, and Hutcast is out. And that's a wrap for Hutcast. Hutcast is, again, a pragmatic approach to seeing things how some people see them. If you like our show, give us a thumbs up on the Facebook site. Again, for Hutcast, thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.